These are HaShulchan Yardeh, Simon Lamed Hey, Sif Nun Ches to Samach Beis. This is Supplemental Day 207 of the HaShulchan Yomi series. Today's HaShulchan Yomi is sponsored by Rabbi Yonasan Ezra ben Chana Fagel for a schus for Parnasa and for a Refuah Shlema, Barichus Yomim, Uvishanim Tovos. May should be Zoicher in this coming year to all those brachas. Nun Ches. I'll start back here. Zeshka Kosab, that was Arukh Shulchan, right? The Ramah writes, I should say. Shenofel Setocha Guma, if the that additional branch, what he calls a branch off as opposed to a lobe, recedes into an indentation, and then is equal to the rest of the lobe. Kabanos Shemal's Kogul means that it fills the entire indentation. Supposed to, if it sticks up on top, I feel is even like a little mound, which is not pointy. It's treifa. Those who say Shafir ain't so that even if its height is not the size of the leaf of a das, which is normally the small shear for a lobe. Since although what sticks up is not like the size of the leaf, since the totality of that branch off is the size of the leaf, it's treifa. Because there's two shortcomings. First is that it branches off from the lung. The second one, that which the outcropping at the top is going to rub against the ribs. And certainly if it protrudes because it's broader than that indentation, and can't get into the bottom of the indentation, the treifa, it's treifa. That's a simla chadasha. Not like those who are lenient, as long as whatever sticks up over the top is less than the size of the leaf of adas. He says, look at the shore. Pashatu. It's simple. By strong inflation. That it'll be, I guess, that raises the sides of the indentation, so it covers it becomes higher than the outcropping. So the yesh lachshir machshirit. If call pitzu of the entire branch of is less the size of the hadas leaf. Kosher pshitos, it's obviously kosher. Even though we say it's going to rub against the rib cage, nevertheless came into Yoseres Migabo kosher, since an extra lobe on the back of the lung is kosher if it's less than that shear. Koshka pizzo Migabo, certainly if it's a branch off, as opposed to an extra lobe, that it's kosher. Even though it doesn't fill the entire, it doesn't fill the indentation. I guess, even though indentation doesn't encompass it. Anything which is less a shear of the Oleh Hadas, doesn't have the capacity to ruin things. The Kaki B'chazal, that's Chazal's Masora. The really therefore seems to me to have some Ruba if it's a substantial loss. Also when where the protrusion is less than the size of a Tarfadasa. Even though if you include the rest of it without beyond the protrusion, it's more than the shear of Tarfadasa. As long it's clear that it's a branch off and not an extra lobe. Anything which has a shear, you talk about some really be lenient when there's substantial loss. But Tarchin Ladino, it's not sure halacha. If the branch of is smaller than the indentation, it doesn't fill the entire indentation. So that's interesting. I guess that it's has to be precisely saying. If it's too large, a problem. Too small, it's a problem. The treifa. Some say it's treifa. There's also machines of pizza yoseris. That's a sign that's not a branch of, it's an extra lobe. It's a taz. Yeshin l'sheir, those who say it's kosher. The sof came in the nach baguma and found the house, it's resting in the indentation. And you'll see it's pregnant, so it's not going to break off. It's the good guy to be chodesh into a shore. If you're going to ask, Well, if it's a branch of from the lung, why doesn't it fill the entire indentation? It could be that it's a long time since it branched off. Imaguma, and the lung grew. I guess the animal grew after this branch off occurred. The lung grew together with the indentation. And the branch of on account of its weakness. It hasn't grown as much as the primary part of the lung, Vaguma, and the indentation in the lung. Since there's an indentation underneath, however, it's clear that it's a branch of below it says an extra lobe. The back says Chagura Shmuel. First start of the Sefer, it's Chagura Shmuel, and okay. The introduction says whatever he says there is difficult. Samach stam pitzel nigaba by default a branch of on the back. Atanam chubrba hila shedra. Then the part which is connected is towards the spine. Tzapiru lamata, and the severed part is towards the bottom, which is interesting. Okay, I'm not sure I get the scenario. Therefore, the Ramah says kosher even if it doesn't go into indentation on its own. Unless you put the hand gently on it. Just like when you put the hand on it, it goes into the animal when the lung is outside the animal. So to its lifetime, when the branch of would reach the rib cage, you're going to go into the hole. So it would be the pressure of the rib cage would push it into the hole. I'm tired of shedra, but this part which is severed is towards the spine. But time mata, and the part which is connected is below. I don't see. I can't picture the scenario, but it's evidently it was in that case it can't go easily into the hole. Into indentation. Therefore, there's far written by the people who check lungs. So it's want to be stringent in this scenario. Stephen Slosha Paiskin, but from the default language of the Paiskin, there's no distinction which way is up. Otherwise, they should explain this. Therefore, when the Gdolim wrote, looks like it's going to be the Simla Chadasha. We're not so lenient that a person's grip is going to be effective here. Unless if when you inflate it goes on its own into the indentation. It was certainly inside the indentation when it was alive. You have to put your hand on it until it goes into the indentation. And experts have looked at it, Musharim, and reckon based on the relative size of the branch off and its connection, whether it go in. It based on their assessment, it would have fallen into the whole indentation in its lifetime. When it would come in contact with the rib cage, so he says kosher love and local. If not, you can't be lenient. And it's again it says simcha chadasha, but divrei tam it makes sense. But the reason, and that would you say that a branch of in the front is a problem. Push it. This is obvious. There's a sovereignty break because we're eventually going to break off. Because it's dangling at the space. It's a pizza have a hefch seris. The branch of is the exact opposite of an extra lobe. The seris mikam akshera. Seris on the front is kosher. Have a poskim from many poskim kabak treif, and if it's in the back it's treif. Pizza and the branch will have the mikama treifa. And if it's in the front, it's treif. In the back, it's kosher. The time machine is borrowed because of how it's going to interact with the rib cage. It says so why are we not concerned with an extra lobe in front that it's going to break up? Because it's firmly embedded into the lung. Unos like lobes, which are integrated into the lung. Pizza is supposed to branch off. She spots area which branch off from the lung. I mean, the scalca became by definition it is a problem. It's an issue. It's an issue which might sometimes is not doesn't present a fatal issue, but an issue. It's an issue. It's branched off from the lung. Already, Skakla became ruined. Vada Yesh Chashash Gadol. There's something a significant concern. Shimakama that it's going when it's in front. Tipo Tocharea. It's going to fall into the lung. I'm not sure it means into the lung. I think it means into the cavity. Okay, maybe it's a typo there. Sound base of a dot because it falls in the lung. So what? The sound base of a dot. Sheesh Kame Gdom Shem Shafilu Pizza Kame Mushreshes Yofet. So this follows rationally. So Several wrote that even if it's a branch over the front, if it's firmly rooted, lo chashin shem disbreak because are not concerned it's going to break off and it's kosher. Those who shouted that like a kruche, which is a shrill bird. I feel that's hamachshin. Even those who say it's kosher, lo yadan mami krim they don't know what it means to be rooted for a well. Recently, Mishama those one who said the pizza lech bigur v'yoser michatzi egul mushreshes if the branch of it's round and more than half of that round its circle is rooted into the lung. So the part which is dangling is much less than the side which is rooted. That's called well rooted. So the rove which is rooted will hold in place the miut which is not rooted, so it won't break off. But if the branching is squarish, not specifically squarish, even if it's long and short, I guess means it's irregular. If the side which is rooted is not more than the side which is dangling, it's very reasonable to assume that it will break off. So in the it's good for Mishaliba Shalim Badavar. HaShulchan is not taking responsibility. It says if you feel that there's a good svara, Yachal Hakav Esem Ruba, you I guess not, maybe he doesn't mean that. It means somebody who looks at this branch off and he sees and he's okay saying that the majority is connected. So then Yachal Hakav Esem Ruba, he can be lenient in a case of substantial loss. But Mushrash Yafa if it's very firmly rooted in, and that is it for today.